What if I told you that hidden within the earliest era of Israel's history was a mysterious book? A book so old, so deeply rooted in the wilderness years, that it may predate much of the written scripture we have today. A book quoted in the Bible, yet missing entirely from the biblical canon. A book that may have contained poetry, battle records, miracles, ancient geography, and possibly accounts that differ from, expand upon, or stand in tension with the narratives preserved in Scripture. Today we explore an ancient enigma, the Book of the Wars of the Lord, and the intriguing ways its lost content may have differed from the biblical accounts we know. Before we begin, it is important to clarify one thing. Our approach is neutral, historical, and educational. We are not here to challenge faith, dispute the Bible, or elevate a lost writing above Scripture. Instead, we seek to understand the world behind Scripture, a world where many writings existed, some preserved, some forgotten, and some referenced only briefly in the text of the Bible itself. Exploring these lost writings helps us appreciate the richness of ancient tradition and the complexity of Israel's early history. The Book of the Wars of the Lord appears only once in the Bible, in Numbers 21:14. Therefore it is said in the Book of the Wars of the Lord, followed by a cryptic fragment, Waheb and Sufa, the ravines of the Arnon. That single reference is all we have. No surviving scrolls, no preserved chapters, no manuscripts in any museum. Yet from this tiny fragment, scholars have reconstructed possibilities of what the book may have contained. Some of these theories align beautifully with Scripture. Others reveal expansions, alternative traditions, or even disagreements with the biblical record. One of the most interesting possibilities is that the Book of the Wars of the Lord contained battle narratives far older than the Book of Joshua, perhaps written while the Israelites were still journeying from Egypt to Canaan. The Bible often summarizes battles in only a few short verses, but the Book of the Wars of the Lord may have preserved detailed accounts, names of locations, strategies used in warfare, poems describing God's intervention, or stories of individual heroes whose names are now forgotten. Some traditions suggest it might have contained songs similar to the Song of the Sea or Song of Moses, capturing Israel's gratitude after miraculous victories. Others propose that it may have held early versions of military accounts later rewritten or condensed into the books of Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Joshua. Where then do differences or disagreements arise? One possible area involves the battle at the Arnon Gorge, the very battle referenced in Numbers. The biblical text provides only a surface-level summary, but the reference to a lost book suggests that a fuller story once existed. Some scholars believe the Book of the Wars of the Lord may have described supernatural interventions that did not make it into Scripture, events too legendary, poetic, or exaggerated for the final biblical editors. Other scholars propose that the lost book may have praised individual warriors, while Scripture chooses instead to highlight God as the primary source of victory. If that is true, then one tension may have been theological. The Bible emphasizes divine power, while the lost book may have described human heroism. Another possible disagreement relates to geographical traditions. Ancient Israel preserved multiple competing traditions about the routes they traveled, the locations of certain battles, and the borders of territories. The Book of the Wars of the Lord may have offered different place names, different boundaries, or alternative descriptions of key events. For example, some scholars believe the lost book may have favored the view that Israel fought more battles east of the Jordan than the Bible records. Others believe it may have contained early boundary songs, poetic descriptions of land divisions that conflict with later biblical accounts. These differences were likely not contradictions in the modern sense, but variations in ancient oral tradition. A deeper layer of disagreement may involve the nature of Israel's enemies. Several Jewish traditions, not found in Scripture, suggest that Israel encountered unusually strong warriors, clans of giants, or nomadic tribes with supernatural reputations. Some fragments from the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Book of Jasher depict battles with giant-like beings or mysterious Eastern kings. If the Book of the Wars of the Lord contains similar traditions, its descriptions of enemies may have differed from the more historically grounded versions found in the Bible. While Scripture focuses on nations like Moab, Sihon, and Og, legendary texts often embellish these figures with mythic qualities. The Lost Book may have shared such early legends, stories that biblical authors chose not to include to maintain theological focus. Another intriguing possibility is that the Book of the Wars of the Lord preserved alternate versions of poetic accounts. The earliest Hebrew writings were often poetic, and poetry naturally evolves as it is passed from generation to generation. If this book contained early war songs, their wording may have differed from later biblical compositions. Imagine reading an early draft of the Song of Deborah or a more ancient version of Joshua's conquest poems, versions that may have included rare vocabulary, tribal proverbs, or descriptions not preserved elsewhere. These differences would not imply contradiction, but literary evolution. A more controversial theory suggests that the Book of the Wars of the Lord may have recorded Israelite losses, not just victories. The Bible often emphasizes divine triumph, but ancient military records typically recorded both success and failure. If this lost book included accounts of battles where Israel suffered defeat, or moments where God's presence felt distant, these details may not have been included in Scripture for theological reasons. Again, this theory is speculative, but it reflects the complexity of how ancient documents were shaped and selected. One of the most fascinating possibilities involves the miracle traditions. Some Jewish commentaries suggest that the book contains stories of miraculous events beyond those recorded in Exodus or Joshua. Perhaps encounters with mysterious beings, unusual weather phenomena, or divine interventions that were preserved in oral tradition but never became part of Scripture. For example, some rabbis believe that the Book of the Wars of the Lord described how God sent hornets ahead of Israel to terrify their enemies, an idea hinted at in Exodus and Joshua, but never fully explained. Others believe the book may have contained additional details about the destruction of Sihon and Og, details that later drifted into folklore or midrashic storytelling. So why did the Book of the Wars of the Lord disappear? Most likely it was a simple casualty of history. During the Babylonian invasions, the destruction of temples, and the loss of Israel's archives, many early scrolls vanished. Only the texts considered essential for worship, teaching, and prophecy survived. The Book of the Wars of the Lord, while valuable as a historical or poetic record, may not have been preserved because it did not serve a primary theological purpose. Its absence does not diminish Scripture. Instead, it highlights how much was once written, remembered, and sung by ancient Israel. Understanding these ancient disagreements and differences enriches our appreciation for the Bible. Scripture is the result of careful selection, guided preservation, and divine purpose. The existence of other writings, some lost, some surviving in fragments, reveals the cultural, historical, and literary world behind the Bible. Ancient Israel was not silent. It was a people singing, writing, battling, praying, remembering. The Book of the Wars of the Lord was part of that memory, a book of victories, legends, and stories that now live only in a whisper preserved in Numbers 21. As we reflect on this lost book, we do so with respect. We do not elevate it above Scripture, nor treat it as a competing source of faith. Instead, we recognize it as a window into the past, a glimpse into the world that shaped the biblical authors. And as we continue this journey into forgotten texts, hidden scrolls, and ancient mysteries, may our understanding of Scripture grow deeper, richer, and more grounded in the world from which it emerged. If this exploration has sparked your curiosity, stay with us. Subscribe to Lost Books Archive, turn on notifications, and join us every week as we uncover the forgotten, the hidden, and the sacred.